Hey everybody, this is Diane. Welcome to Biters, the No Drugs edition.
And this is Marnell, and in spite of all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. Powering a zombie mill.
You know what they say about the rat race?
What's that?
In the end, the rat still wins.
Makes sense.
All right. So Thomas O'Mara gave me an expletive-laced review, which was quite positive.
Well, on Facebook, he had a little bit of an early screening, and he was very cryptic with his shock.
He watches on the streaming service, so he usually gets it 2 days early.
Yeah.
But overall, he thought this was a fantastic episode, and he felt that I should have been taking more drugs if I didn't enjoy it.
Well, then he will like my rating because it's probably one of the higher rated episodes for me for season. 5B.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so we're here today talking about Leave What You Don't, which is season 5, episode 13. That means we have 3 episodes left.
It's been a long road to get here.
I know, but they just introduced this major plot twist with 3 episodes left, which basically means you know that they're not going to resolve anything with that.
Right. And I did see a headline where they're basically calling Virginia the Negan of this Walking Dead.
I saw that too. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
And that's kind of how they teased Negan for, I feel like they teased Negan for a long time before they actually, put him in the show.
Well, but there was the whole comic book history and the people who really loved and hated Negan from the comic books. So there was good reason for them to tease him as much as they did.
Right.
Right. I mean, you always say there's no source material for this particular event in the zombie apocalypse, so there was nothing to tease.
No, there wasn't. There's a lot to recycle, though.
Well, they are certainly doing that.
Recycling is good.
Oh, my God.
Maybe not for the show, but in life in general.
Not for the show.
No. So, what was your rating?
So, my rating was 3.2 empty gas tanks out of 5.
3.2, really?
Yeah, I'm still not loving this season, and as much as Tom was teasing me, I'm not sure that there's much that could redeem this season for me at this point.
Huh. So, on my first watch, and I told you, because we're podcasting a day late, because I just, I couldn't do it yesterday. But when we talked about it, I said that I think this episode was good, but I didn't pay that much attention because this whole season has trained me to be very blasé about the episodes. So it gained a lot on my rewatch. I would have given it a mid-upper 3s, but I gave it a 4.1 zombie-powered mills.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, we will talk about it. I actually have more notes for this episode than I've had for pretty much any other Fear the Walking Dead episode. I was going back through my notes because I did a deep dive. And yeah, I don't go onto a second page for Fear the Walking Dead. So
I'm only laughing because I have pages and pages, but I write big and I write a lot. I probably don't say 60% of what I write.
Yeah, I'm pretty shorthand with my notes. Which, if I'm doing my notes right before we podcast, is fine. But in 3 days, I'll be like, what did I mean by that? So,
Well, so I have some numbers.
okay.
The headline at comicbook.com said that there was a, quote, sharp increase in ratings for Fear this week. They were actually up about 25% from last week's total viewership, which and Phil had reported as really low, like 1.4 or 1.14.
1 point, yep.
And
it was the lowest viewed episode of all Fear Walking Dead.
So this week it was 1.446 million overall, 0.4 in the 18 to 49 group, and it placed 6th on Sunday for viewership in the 18 to 49 group.
That's not terrible.
No, 90 Day Fiancé continues its reign of terror as the number one in the 18 to 49 group, which just gives me no hope for that demographic.
Okay, we've talked about how Fear the Walking Dead. I cannot remember if it is 4th or 5th. It's in the top 5. I don't think it's in the top 3
for
AMC.
Right.
I need to find out what 90 Day Fiancé, how well it does for that channel.
Well, it must do really well if it is consistently rated over the series that's, 4th or 5th for AMC, which has been a juggernaut for the last several years.
Yeah, but a lot of people watch Terrible Life Choices.
That's true.
AKA TLC.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you remember when that used to stand for the Learning Channel?
I do, and then I remember that it was a group back in the 90s.
Oh, that's right.
But yes, I do remember when it used to be the Learning Channel and when they actually used to do things other than 90 Day Fiancé.
And
Long Island Medium.
Tiaras.
Yeah.
And Dr. Pimple Popper.
I will tell you, I tease you endlessly about reality TV and how much I hate it, but every now and then I do get sucked into like one of the ghost shows or one of the medium shows. So those are my guilty pleasures if I'm going to watch anything that's loosely termed reality TV.
Oh, that's so shameful. I can't believe you admitted that.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. No, it's really not. It's that long-lasting interest in the paranormal, which just is fed in a really, really pathetic way by TLC and other channels. I think the Travel Channel does a bunch of ghost shows.
I think Discovery Channel does.
They might.
And then the History Channel's all aliens now.
Oh my God. So whichever channel, and I can't remember because it's been so long since I was really into it, but whichever channel did Ghost Hunters actually just rebooted it with one of the main guys from the original team.
Wasn't it Sci-Fi?
Maybe it was Sci-Fi. I think you're right. I think it probably was Sci-Fi.
Yeah, I feel like it was Sci-Fi.
And I'm heartbroken. So it was Grant and Jason. And Grant came back, and I was like, okay, Grant, you must not be making enough money off of your residuals.
And weren't they were plumbers?
Yes, they
did
were.
This
and you know what? They were really hilarious, and they were really honest about debunking stuff. They were really honest about, no, we totally replicated this, and this is where that goofy sound came from.
Right, right. They tried to debunk stuff, and when they couldn't, they were like, well, it might not be ghosts, but we can't explain it.
Right. And then it got sort of dramatic. They had this one guy whose name was Brian, and he was such a drama queen. He would, yell and run over anything.
I'm telling you, it's always the first season, maybe 2 seasons of a reality show that's, legit, and then the rest of the time it's half scripted and reshot.
Well, so now they've rebooted it with, 2 or 3 people from different ghost hunting clubs around the country, and they'll bring them in for a season, and Grant is leading the team. And I'm heartbroken because it's not what it was.
Yeah, they're probably rolling through the teams because you really just got to keep it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we bring characters on the show Fear the Walking Dead and then kill them.
Bringing it home, bringing it back around. Good for you.
Right?
All right. So our title, Leave What You Don't. So it's obvious, right? It's about the boxes.
Yeah.
But I also thought that there were a lot of references to leaving people behind.
Yes.
Like Clayton, like Logan, like Lucy, ultimately.
Right. And, yeah, I have something to say about, the reverberations of our choices over time.
I thought that the twist over Sarah's choices was very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, there was definitely a butterfly effect going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was kind of what I wondered, leave what you don't. I'm kind of wondering, does that have to do with leaving people behind as well? That was the only great thing that I had about the title.
Well, and mine came at the very end of the episode when we are leaving Luciana behind and we're moving on without her. Take what you need and leave what you don't. They have been looking for a place to settle, and this isn't it. So they are leaving behind what they don't need. And unfortunately, that sounds like it's Lucy.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like a huge bummer.
Yeah.
I was reading Paul Tassie's article from last week where he talks about, where's Luciana? Luciana's the OG of the cast now. And I really hope that she gets a standout episode because God knows she deserves one. And now it turns into, peace out, Lucy. We're leaving you captive to the settlers or the pioneers or whatever you want to call them.
But we didn't kill her, so we can always bring her back around. Right. I mean,
she did not get cast as Selena. That was the other Latina actress. So. Rosita. AKA, God, what's Rosita's real name? Christian Serratos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It kind of bummed me out. I was a little bit bummed out. I thought that was not a very kind ending to someone who's been on the cast for a really long time. And I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying we'll never see her again, but it felt like an ending.
Right. So, I kind of think maybe they're giving the actress Denai Garcia, who plays Luciana, a break because she does have what I think is a movie in pre-production.
Oh, does she really?
It's called Dead End.
Good for her.
So maybe she's having to take a break because of filming schedule complications. She may go off the show for like a half a season or something and make a triumphant comeback and save everyone.
Or that may just be it.
Yeah, we may never see her again, Heath. I'm going to find a way to work him into every episode.
Into every conversation.
Oh.
Well, so our writers were Ashley Cardiff. Okay, it's not the drugs talking because I swear to God I haven't had anything since early this morning. And just for anybody who knows, who hasn't been listening, I really did have surgery. I'm not just randomly taking oxycodone. Anyway, Ashley Cardiff and Nick Bernardone. I hope I said that right. So Ashley we have seen before. She wrote Humbug's Gulch.
Oh, okay.
She's got 14 credits as an executive story editor for Fear the Walking Dead, but they've all been in this season. So,
right.
I'm not sure. Has she contributed to this season being kind of a dog, or has she suffered from this season being kind of a dog? I'm not really sure, but
yeah, this wasn't a great season to start writing for the show.
Her only other writing credit is a TV series called Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, which I think we talked about when we talked about Humbug's Gulch.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then Nick Bernardone, hope I said his name right, was actually a producer on Walking Dead proper for 2017 and 2018.
Wow.
He's got 9 writer credits. This is his first credit for Fear. He actually served as a script coordinator on both series. But what's really interesting is that he wrote all of the Red Machete webisodes.
Well, it looks like he got his start in writing for 30 Rock, the webisodes.
Which, who knew that they were even doing webisodes? I thought that webisodes were a Walking Dead thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch 30 Rock. Really not my thing.
Yeah,
So,
no, it was totally something that wasn't my thing either.
yeah.
So those are the writers, and then our director, Daisy von Schurler-Meyer, again, another name I hope I'm not slaughtering, actually has quite a number of director credits, and we talked about her before because she directed Just in Case.
Oh, that was a good episode.
Yeah, so this is her
Yeah.
second episode directing for Fear. She's actually got one episode of Walking Dead proper, which I did not go back and look to see what episode that was. She's got an episode of Whiskey Cavalier.
I see that.
She's got a bunch of episodes for Bosch, which I remember liking. I mean, I started it and kind of dropped off. It's into its 6th season.
I think I saw an advertisement for it the other day, and I'm like, why am I not watching that show?
Yeah, no, I mean it's based on a series of novels, and they're quite popular novels, and it was good. I mean, what I did watch, I enjoyed. So maybe once I finish my rewatch of 6 Feet Under, which I'm plowing through at record pace, I'll have to look at Bosch.
Yeah, so you got me into 6 Feet Under. So the other half and I are watching that together. But now, in my copious amounts of spare time, I had to go back and start over with the 100 because I really want to catch up with the current seasons of it.
Aha. I didn't know it was
but-
still going.
It is. And for those of you who don't watch, Alicia Debnam Carey is a prominent character for at least one season, I think 2.
And isn't Peter Jacobson in it?
No. I don't remember.
It was Ricky Whittle, right? The guy who plays Shadow Moon.
Yes.
Because we were kind of talking around like some of the connections, and Amy said that the guy who plays Shadow Moon was in it.
Right. He is. Yep. He plays Lincoln.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, so back to Daisy von Schurler-Meyer. She's actually got quite a number of credits as a director. She's got 42 credits. Some other stuff that we probably talked about when we talked about her the first time. So she has worked on *Halt and Catch Fire*, which was an AMC property. She worked on *Outcast*, which is a Kirkman property. She also worked on *Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce*. So I'm kind of wondering if that's not how she and Ashley Cardiff are connected.
Right.
She has Nurse Jackie credits, which again, another series that I watched for a while, then kind of dropped off, that I'm thinking I need to go back and finish because I loved it.
Yeah, that's another one that I need to take your recommendation and binge it, but it's
and
just
it's all on Netflix. I looked it up.
Right.
All 7 seasons.
She's got a credit for Orange is the New Black, which I'm halfway through the I think the most current season. I think they're doing one more season and then they're ending it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's done a lot that we watch or have watched or want to watch.
I will say her first credit, which I've never seen, but I recognize the actress, Party Girl with Parker Posey.
Oh,
Parker Posey
yes.
is so funny. I remember her best from the movie Best in Show.
Yes.
Which she's just hilarious. The Busy Bee.
She's also in a really great movie for a kind of a dark comedy, indie dark comedy. It's called The House of Yes.
Never heard of it.
She kind of has it's her and a twin brother, and there's some stuff, and that's all I'll say about that.
And there's some stuff.
But she also has kind of this, I don't want to call it a fetish, but she's got this obsession with Jackie Kennedy Onassis. And holy crap, does Parker Posey really look like Jackie Kennedy Onassis?
Oh, that's interesting. I can see that.
Right. So that's funny because Parker Posey and the gentleman who plays Wes, that I can't remember, both graduated from the same school.
Ah, there are ties everywhere. Everywhere, I tell you.
Yeah, I think it's all like you just get to know one person who's in the groups, and they just suck you right in. It's like gravity.
It's totally that 6 degrees of separation thing.
Definitely.
Well, so that's all I really had to say. Just a quick update in the podcasting world because, oh my God, I finally listened to Dirty John, which I just have been raving about. And I did a little deep dive and watched the Bravo TV series and the accompanying documentary called Dirty John, The Dirty Truth.
Yep.
Oh my God, what a messed up story.
Have
and
you
it's got a Walking Dead connection.
What?
It does. So
it does.
That's what
remember that.
made me think about it. So I don't want to spoil the series for anybody who might go and listen to it because it's really messed up and you should. But the daughter of the main woman in the series is completely obsessed with The Walking Dead. And it kind of plays into the end of the story.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, it's a true crime podcast. It's this is stuff that actually happened to people, so it's not fictionalized at all.
And it's basically about this really creepy, manipulative, sociopathic guy who trolls for not really even vulnerable women, but lonely women who have resources, and he exploits them for their resources.
Right.
Yeah. It's really messed up.
It's been a while since I've listened to it, but every once in a while it pops up. There'll be like a thing on it on like the one of the true crime channels, or My Favorite Murder will talk about it, or it pops up every once in a while, and it's such a, I mean, I don't want to call it a good story because it's terrible, but it's a crazy story that you just can't believe that, actually happened.
I gotta tell you, the fact that I dove so deeply into it. And you know what I'm doing.
You love the music.
I am obsessed with the song, so it was used in the podcast.
Right.
And it's by an artist that I really, really have liked for a long time. So to kind of have that as well. Yeah, it's got all the things. It's creepy. It's murdery. There's medical stuff related to it. It's got a Walking Dead connection. And it's got a great theme song.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a good podcast. I would also recommend it. Are you done with it?
I'm done with it.
Okay.
I actually, last night, I found myself Googling, what should I listen to now that I've finished Dirty John?
I think I texted you a bunch of recommendations.
You did. And I'm sorry, I can't get into Lizzo. I just can't.
Which is not a podcast, by the way. It's a rap artist?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I may soften, but I'm kind of like, I'm not in the mood right now. Not enough drugs or too many. I'm not sure, but...
So that's what I said about Billie Eilish, and now I love Billie Eilish. So stuff creeps in.
It does. It does. So I'm not ruling it out completely. But
right.
All right. Our featured cast is...
I'm having a hard time saying her name.
Colby
Minifie.
Yep.
Yes, I've even heard her say her own name, and I still am having trouble saying her last name.
The only reason I know how to say it is that I watched the interview that you popped up just before we signed on. That was the one interview that I watched.
Yeah, thank you, YouTube, for giving me the pronunciation of people's names sometimes.
She got like some Young Actress Award back in 2010, and that was what that video was for. It was kind of a promotional for that award and her talking about her experiences. She was very engaging.
I didn't realize she has such a long storied history for someone so young. I actually thought that she was my age, but she's like 12 years younger than me.
Well, and she apparently has done a lot on Broadway. That was what I found on the little bit of skulking that I did.
Okay, I was going to say, I found theater work, but I don't think any Broadway. So it's funny. She was in a theater, a play called The Pillowman in 2005. And then it's 7 years before her next theater credit. Close Up Space by Molly Smith Metzer in 2012. And then about every 1 to 2 years, she does a theater play. So in the meantime, she has had plenty of acting work on TV, including Law and Order and Law and Order SVU.
That totally cracked me up. Yes, she has.
She is also a Gleek.
But here's the weird thing about being a Gleek. So, she only shot one episode. It was called... Deleted. What was it called? It was called Mash Off. Mm-hmm. Where she played a young Sue Sylvester, which is Jane Lynch's character. Mm-hmm. She also sang in that episode, and all of her scenes got cut.
I'm sure it's on the director's cut on the DVD pack.
Well, you know, the thing that was really interesting, and this was what I gleaned in that little interview with her, is that she said that she had just come out of a yoga class where she talked with the yoga instructor about kind of letting go of materialism and all of this kind of stuff. And she had just kind of come out to her folks about the Glee shoot, and her folks were really excited, and they told like everybody, and then she got this call that all of her scenes for Glee had been cut. So she was awful. Like, it was a really good experience. It was a really good experience about being humble, about staying humble, not letting stuff go to your head. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you lose, don't lose the lesson.
Yeah, I mean, her perspective was actually really good. So
yeah. Well, she has not suffered for work since.
No, she actually has quite a bit. She had like 42 actress credits on IMDb. Right. Of course, we're talking about Virginia, a.k.a. Ginny.
Right. So she does a lot of shorts. She does a lot of one-off TV series. But it's a lot of well-known stuff. I mean, like we said, Glee, Nurse Jackie, Law and Order Special Victims Unit, The Blacklist, which I have watched all except for the last 2 seasons. I don't know. They kill a main character, and I'm like, no, I'm out.
God, if you did that, you'd have finished watching Walking Dead a long time ago.
Yeah, but like you can do that with a cast as large as Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. But she was also in Jessica Jones. Right,
which I vaguely remembered her from Jessica Jones. I had to go back and refresh my memory. She was the sister of that crazy brother-sister duo that was in
Upstairs.
The same apartment building.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I immediately recognized her from The Boys.
The Boys, which we both just watched. Yeah.
Well, I haven't finished it yet, but I've watched probably half of it anyway.
Right. So she plays kind of, I don't want to say annoying, but she's she's an assistant who really doesn't like her job.
Well, she's totally a handler for all of these really difficult heroes.
Yeah.
And I use the word hero loosely.
Yeah. That's a very good way of describing it, is she's a handler. She's actually the assistant to the handler, but we all know the assistant does most of the work anyway, kind of like nurses.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, nurses' aides do most of the work. Nurses do the second amount of work. Nurses' aides have the hardest jobs.
No thanks.
Yeah, I agree.
So she was in Blind Spot, which I watch.
The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which we've been told we need to watch.
Yes, and I want to watch. I just, I don't know.
Another AMC property, Diet Land, which was short-lived, unfortunately.
Did you ever watch it?
I didn't. I mean, it was an interesting premise, but it just didn't fit into my life at that point in time.
Yeah, and it kind of seemed a little controversial at times, so that actually piqued my interest in it. I'm not knocking it for being controversial. That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the controversy. That's totally fine. But
right. So let's see. Like I said, she's only 27 years old. What's funny is, who did I think of when we first saw a picture of her, and it was just a picture of her on a horse with the hat and everything, and they were teasing her as a new character, and this was like season 5A. For some reason, I'm like, are they putting Susan Sarandon on Fear the Walking
I see a
Dead?
young Susan Sarandon. I can see that.
Yeah. And then she's also been compared to a young Martha Plimpton.
Oh, yep, I can see that too.
Yes, which Martha Plimpton is on a really great series called Raising Hope with Garrett Dillahunt. So
Another connection. It's all connected.
It's all connected. No, but she only looks like Martha Plimpton. There's no real connection other than now, I guess, Garrett Dillahunt. She performed for years for the National Dance Institute. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of her stuff for dancing. Like, I haven't seen any there. Nothing came up on YouTube. Nothing's come up really. It says she appeared on and off Broadway. So I didn't
there you go.
see.
She was on Broadway.
Yeah, I didn't see any plays, but that's what Wikipedia claims, and I'm having to go by Wikipedia because IMDb got nothing.
Yeah, no, her IMDb was very short.
Her only social media is Instagram, but she is very prolific on Instagram. She's got a lot of great shots. She seems to travel a lot. She goes to really cool, interesting places. One of her most recent pictures was her with the Supertramp bus.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, that is, what was the movie? Not Into the Wild.
Yeah, Into the Wild.
The Wild? Okay. Yeah.
Two people just recently died getting to that bus.
Yes. So
trying to get to that bus.
It is a very grueling hike that people don't prepare for, and they want to see this cool bus from the movie, and it's way, way out in the Alaskan sticks, and people die trying to get to this bus. So she's got a picture on Instagram of her at the bus. So apparently she's a very well-traveled prepared hiker.
I hope she's well prepared because it costs the state a lot of money to rescue people from that foolishness.
It does.
It does.
It does. That's so... It's not funny, but it's funny. Like, I shouldn't die. I shouldn't laugh when people die, but...
Oh my God. You're terrible.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So we get tourists at, like, the glacier, and we have these platforms that are built over the streams where the salmon run, and you can look down at bears in these streams catching salmon to fatten up for the wintertime. So there's always bears around the glacier, and they cross the road. They try to get into the trash cans, which are bear proof and human proof. There's like a whole mechanism you have to do to unlock it to throw your trash away. But people will get within a few feet of these bears getting a picture of it. So I really have no sympathy.
Yeah, because then they do the whole, here, kitty, kitty, here, kitty, kitty.
Right?
No, really, that's a good way to die. It really is a good way to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're glad that Colby Menifee survived her trip to the Into the Wild bus, but dang, I'm conflicted about her role on Fear the Walking Dead.
Really?
Yeah, I am.
Will we get into that, or do you want to talk about it right now?
We'll probably get into it.
Okay. Like I said, there wasn't much out there with her. She's Colby.Menifee on Instagram. And like I said, she's a prolific Instagrammer. So she's got a lot of great shots, some shorts, and it's a lot of stuff from her personal life and professional life. So it's a mix of both. She's a lefty. So if that's not your thing and you want to follow her, don't hate.
Standard warning.
Right. like a PSA for don't say mean things on social media.
Pretty much.
Yep. So that is our featured cast member, and she's being compared to Negan now. So
yeah, I don't.
Apparently, she's the big bad, and she was very good at it this episode. I was kind of like, whoa, Kitty's got claws.
I'm just not sure how I feel. She's gonna have to grow on me.
Well, see, and I didn't like her, which made me like the actress. You know, I think she played it well. So, but I guess we'll get into that
at some point. All right, Whisperer's Corner was pretty grim, so I'll speed through it.
Okay, good, because I didn't have anything for last week, and I thought it was just because I didn't do my due diligence, but I really think it's been quiet on the home front.
No, I think you're right. It was pretty quiet this week, so it wouldn't surprise me if last week was quiet too. So very quickly, EW has an interview with Angela Kang, and she promises, quote, beautiful stuff between Daryl and Carol, but then, of course, doesn't really say what it is, and is just trying to suck in all the people who are still, after all these years, shipping those two characters.
Clickbait!
Yeah, I don't think that's what it's going to be, folks, but just so you know, Angela Kang says beautiful stuff between Daryl and Carol. Eric Kane wrote the funniest review, which hit me right because I'm still hating Fear. It was called 7 Reasons Why Fear the Walking Dead is one of the worst shows on TV.
I was just pulling that up.
So I will run through the 7 really quickly. There's no sense of continuity, and what he means by that is stuff like, you know, the gas works in one scene and then doesn't work in the next scene, and Al's tapes are not VHS, but for some reason they managed to manufacture them as VHS tapes so they can get played on every random VCR that they find. So things like that. Boy, I have no idea what's going on out in the hallway, but it must be ferocious.
That was either Koba or Batty.
It's Koba. She's Yippee McYipperstein.
I finally got to meet them. They're adorable.
She's driving me nuts right now. All right, back to Eric Kane. So, no sense of continuity, number 1. Number 2, realism is dead. Like the whole thing where all of a sudden everybody is an airplane mechanic. And apparently an oil refiner as well.
And, you know, we can... and it's true, you can wash off nuclear radiation with soap and water, but...
And you can keep a whole nuclear reactor running with a generator. Okay, number 3, there's nothing scary about the zombies or the villains, which I think is really unfortunately true this season.
Agreed.
Number 4, it's so cheesy I just can't even anymore. That's what he said.
I don't know if I will agree with him on this one, and it's because they have a shot of Sarah and Dwight drinking beers, and I kind of love those two right now.
Yeah, I'm actually not hating on that. I'm hating on the we're here to help. We're here to help. We help people.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Number 5, bullets, batteries, and gasoline. As in, there seems to be an endless supply of all of these things.
Right? And that was I've said it in other episodes, and I will say it again this episode, like limitless ammunition. It is like Fear. It's like The Walking Dead, Our World. If you don't play the game, you run out of energy before you run out of ammunition. So that seems to be where Fear the Walking Dead is now too.
Right. But you can recharge, just like our characters can.
And cut your hair, like, all the time.
Okay, number 6, it's hard to follow. I didn't pick a particular example from there, but I think generally it's true. There are times I'm like, what? Wait, what? What just happened?
Well, and my deep dive, which we will get into, we bounce around all over the state of Texas, apparently. And for those of you who don't know, Alaska is the largest state in the U.S. Texas is the second largest state, but it's still a pretty big darn state. So they have been burning through a lot of gas and a lot of miles. So I agree.
What's interesting is Eric Kane's next point is location, location, location. And he actually feels like we've gotten really stagnant in terms of locations.
Yeah. I think Texas is kind of a stagnant location at this point, and we've also just it feels like we're just circling this highway.
Right. So that was Eric Kane's article. Next up, there was an article on gamesradar.com where Angela Kang is quoted as saying that moment that we see between Ezekiel and Michonne in the trailer is very real.
I didn't doubt that.
So she's teasing some sort of relationship between the two of them before Michonne's fade out.
Yeah. And, I think at one point in time when they introduced Ezekiel, and I think I wanted to ship those two too. And I don't know if it was just because they have fabulous hair.
No, it's because they're actually a couple in the comic book.
Are they?
Yeah.
I feel like I knew that, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're actually a couple in the comic book.
I'm not that far.
All right. Paul Tassi was actually more in your camp this week. He said, Fear the Walking Dead finally makes something interesting happen with a new villain group.
Notice he says interesting, but not good.
Well, and I mean, he was a little bit lukewarm in his article, but he was generally positive about the new group.
Yeah. I know that Virginia kind of called them pioneers or settlers, but I originally called them the Highwaymen 2.0, but we're actually in the past when it comes to the Walking Dead universe,
so
correct?
They'd be the Highwaymen 0.5.
Yeah, so maybe the Highwaymen in the Walking Dead this last season were like leftovers from this group or people who broke off.
There's an awful lot of highway between Texas and Georgia.
Yeah, I did the math that one time, remember?
I know you did. All right. The game series Telltale's The Walking Dead actually released its definitive collection yesterday, so people who are into that game can get that collected work. I posted a thing on our Biters page, which was actually a timeline that a Reddit user had done for the whole universe of Walking Dead. And so it looks like Fear the Walking Dead is currently about 7 years behind the main series.
Okay. I would have said 6, but okay.
So all of you who are talking about the two series merging, a lot is going to have to happen for that to happen.
Okay, would it be the first time the Walking Dead universe did a 6-year time jump?
No,
nope.
It would not. But I think a lot's going to have to happen. Another little factoid I thought from that was really interesting from that article is that seasons 1 through 3 of this series actually took place in the first 60 days of the zombie apocalypse.
That's right. I feel like we've talked about that. Like way, way back.
So a fair portion of what happened in the first 3 seasons of this series happened before Rick even woke up.
Wow. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
So I posted the article if people are interested in looking at the Reddit timeline that was laid out.
Yeah, it's a good read. I definitely recommend it.
Oh my god, I have no idea what the dogs are doing, but it's insane out there. So once again, the husband is failing miserably at the job. Failing.
I don't really hear it that much. It kind of sounds like they're wrestling in a sleeping bag, but
yeah, that's pretty much what it sounds like. Okay. All right, a couple more things for Whisperer's Corner, and then we'll move on. The Walking Dead, the Prime series, has been nominated for 5 People's Choice Awards. Show of 2019, Drama Show of 2019, Female TV Star of 2019. Denai Guerrera is the nominee in that category. Male TV Star of 2019, Norman Reedus. And Drama TV Star of 2019, also Norman Reedus. So they're up for 5 awards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Let's see. There was an article about Scott Gimple's appearance at WonderCon, and it sounds like it's been pretty much confirmed that the new show is going to premiere sometime in 2020. And then the only other thing that I found that I thought was kind of funny is Chandler Riggs apparently posted on Twitter that he bought a house.
Oh, I love this.
And he got trolled by the Walking Dead account, which I don't know if that's actually I think it's a fan-run account. I don't think it's an official AMC account. But the response was something like, as if you'll stay there, because apparently
Right.
Carl kept running off. So
Yeah, they kept telling Carl to stay in the house, and he wouldn't.
well, and ultimately, apparently, Kirkman jumped in on Twitter and said, all right, enough already. This basically lay off of him. This isn't funny anymore. So,
Oh, see, I think it was good. That was good-natured.
well, it must have gotten dragged out.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the feeling that I got from the article.
As you do on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. So that's what's been happening in Whisperer's Corner.
Well, you had a lot more this week than I did last week.
Well, I had a little more time on my hands, even though I slept most of today away. But I was up most of last night, so... Because apparently Sundowners is a thing.
Well, when you don't have someplace to get up and take a shower and get dressed to go to for 4 to 8 hours a day, your schedules do get flipped.
Yeah, my schedule is flipped bad.
Yeah, I am a forced morning person. I have always been a night owl. Thank you, Lunesta.
All right, good, bad, and ugly. Because I'm not sure how much longer my hip is going to take this.
Let's speed this along. So my good, in spite of our rants on the writing this season, I loved some of the quips in this episode. There was a little much of it. It felt like they were talking in quips, but I love when Sarah jumps out of the freezer. Mm-hmm. And she goes off on the one guy, and she's like, my one big regret is killing Polar Bear. I can live with. Mm-hmm. And then Dwight, when he says about the guy whose truck they took to fool Logan into getting in close, he decided today was the perfect day to stop being an asshole.
Right.
So I loved some of the lines this episode, and this just overall was a much better episode because I feel like we've turned a corner. Uprocks has an article that says we've turned a corner finally. But we only have 3 episodes left of the season, so how far around the corner are we getting?
Right. They've created a lot to do in the next 3 seasons, which I think is what's going to carry them over to season 6.
Right.
So
right.
do you think... Oh, this is rotting potpourri, but I'm going to say it anyway, otherwise I'll lose it. Do you think that killing off Logan's group is the big reset that Andrew Chambliss was talking about?
Half of it. I think killing off Logan's group was half of the reset, and the other half of the reset is, of course, the introduction of the settlers.
Well, if that's a big reset, I'm not sure I think that was such a huge reset.
We'll get into it because I feel like this has been looming the entire season with Logan, because he's alluded to it so much that there's something much, much larger going on. And I'm excited for it. I know I say it every episode that I have hope for the future episodes, but it definitely kicked into overdrive this episode. I mean, it wasn't a great episode, but we are getting somewhere.
If you say so.
That was my good. My good was mostly a lot of the one-liners this episode.
Well, my good was kind of related. So my good was Mo Collins.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed her. I definitely agree. She had some of the funniest one-liners of the whole season.
Yes.
She's
absolutely.
been getting some particularly good writing, even in the face of some otherwise awful writing. I thought that her parts were really well acted. And I especially liked the moments where they thought that the survivor was committing suicide. Just the look on her face. You didn't have to have any words from her. Just the acting that she did with her face and her body was so good.
So I actually wrote down, I love the looks on everyone's faces after more than one shot over the radio. And definitely her and Dwight, like I could feel the tension in their faces and then the absolute shock when the other shots rang out. Yeah, I mean she's very good. She projects even when she's not saying her awesome one-liners.
Well, and the thing that's really great about her is she did not start as a dramatic actress.
Uh-huh.
She started as a comedic actress, so I think she actually has very good range.
Definitely. Agreed.
All right, on to your bad.
Well, we have talked about it. Killing Logan and his group. What?
Okay, so
was
that
that?
was totally my bad as well.
Okay,
because
let's get into it.
I just felt like they really wasted Matt Frewer on this season.
Wasted.
They never made him really bad or really good. And there was so much buildup, and they just did nothing with him.
I have something to say about, because we've speculated, because he seemed like he was the big bad, in the first episode we saw him, and even the second episode. But then it was like, I'm not in charge of this group. I'm not the leader. I do what they say. But he always seemed to be the one that was talking for the group and the one that was kind of in charge, and so we flipped back and forth between, is Logan the leader of this group or is he not? And apparently, because we thought maybe Doris would be, apparently nobody was the leader of this group, because he mentioned something about when they're trying to save the oil fields, he's like, we have a contract. He said that to Doris, and he did. He had a contract with Virginia's group. And so I don't think Logan or Doris were in control all along. I think that they were doing the bidding of Virginia's group. So
I kind of got the feeling that Logan tried to be the leader of this offshoot group.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they definitely were not the ones in charge.
And this episode, I kind of flipped back and forth with liking why he became who he became, and then unbecoming who he was, because I was like, yeah, hearing a woman that you're trying to save die horribly over the radio would be very traumatic, but I don't think you would turn evil.
It does kind of explain his anger around the gas and, the whole, I ran out of gas and that was why that woman died. But again, I agree. It didn't completely explain why he abandoned his
do-gooding
mission. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in fairness, they talked about, it gives them hope. It falsely gives people hope. And maybe that was what he didn't want to do anymore.
Yeah. And so then he has the scene with Sarah, and he unleashes on Sarah, and we find out that the reason why the girl died is because she was on Polar Bear's route. So Desert Fox, as he was known, Logan, was further away and didn't make it in time.
Which that is not really part of our bad. It's more rotting potpourri, but it's really cool that Sarah's decision to take Clayton out, to steal the truck from Clayton, is what ultimately killed that girl.
Yeah, and that's what affected Logan so profoundly that he became evil, apparently. And then, the bad guy was kind of unmade this episode, and he was ready to join up with our team and do good again. And then he gets a bullet to the head. Oh,
Which
big
again,
sigh.
I think was just a big waste of a character.
Big waste. Like,
Like a
kill
waste of a
all
character that they promised a lot with, never materialized, and then they just were like, oh, we're done.
kill all of the rest of Logan's group, but leave Logan alive. And there's no doubt that he's dead. They shot him in the head. There's no like, it winged his shoulder, and June's gonna patch him up.
Right.
I mean, he's gone. All of them are gone. It just, again, we've been going in circles.
I did think, wow, the Pioneers were a pretty good shot that they all managed to pick out just the people that they wanted to kill.
In fairness, there were a lot of them. Like, I would say that there was probably close to 100 people there.
Oh, do you really think it was that many?
Oh, yeah. I just, going back, and maybe they weren't that spread out. There were some on the cliffs overlooking, and then there was a whole bunch in the oil fields. Like, a whole bunch. Some of them were on horseback, some of them were on foot, but it was like a small army. And we'll get into that. That's in my rotting potpourri.
And she did say they're getting larger.
Mm-hmm. They're
All
expanding.
right. Well, so we both had the same bad. Did we have the same ugly?
So we've kind of talked about my ugly, and we've talked about one aspect of my ugly. It seems like there was a whole lot of butterfly effect in this episode that all got tied together. So we had Serena and Logan, so the girl that died over the radio, and Logan, where, because of Sarah and Polar Bear, the actions that Sarah took against Polar Bear, Serena died and Logan turned bad. And then in the end, the other girl that was in danger was saved by Wes because Alicia, saved Wes.
Very good. I totally didn't think about that as being the mirror image of that. That's a good catch.
Yeah, so I feel like, one ended horribly, and I for Rotting Potpourri, I do have a little bit of, it's really amazing what are the odds that the exact same thing happens to two different sets of people.
Right.
But we'll get into that a little. What was your ugly?
So my ugly was a bad ugly. And I wrote down, maybe it's because I'm cold and dead inside. But I think that last scene with the girl who ultimately doesn't get a name, at least not at this point, I think it would have been so much more impactful if they had actually had her go through with the suicide.
Really?
I think it would have had such a big impact on our group. I think it would have shaken us out of this, we're here to help. And it would have taken us back to a place that was much more realistic about how the zombie apocalypse really is. People
I agree.
die, horrible things happen.
But that's super dark.
I think it would have been so much more impactful and so much more profound. I was actually very disappointed that they did not take it through to that end, and that they instead had her get rescued at the last minute by Wes, because we're here to help.
Well, and one of the, I would say, jokes, because, the zombie apocalypse probably won't happen in my lifetime. But I always joke, save the last bullet for yourself. If it is between getting torn apart and eaten alive by zombies or putting a bullet through my head, I'm totally going to take the easy way out. Last bullet's for me. And so I think that is an absolutely realistic thing that would happen, because I don't think I'm alone in that feeling.
I don't think so.
No. It's one of my top 3 ways that I don't want to die. And it, being eaten by anything, being eaten by a bear or a shark or zombies, like just being eaten in general, that's, not the way I want to go.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I wish that they had actually carried it through to the actual suicide. I think that would have been much more impactful.
I definitely think it would be impactful. But as far as the moving our group forward and getting them out of this, we're here to help. I kind of think that's maybe what Virginia's group kind of did, because they were all like, yeah, no deal. We're going to take a tanker and just get on the road.
I just think that moment of darkness where you lose that person that everyone is striving to help would have been so much more profound.
Yeah. And
I think it would have had so much more bearing than, oh, here's another group of big bads, and really maybe wink, wink, nod, nod, she is the big bad.
So here's the thing. Do you think they would have done it on Walking Dead Prime?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like
Andrea killed herself.
Yeah, I feel like Prime would have taken that dark path. We've gone down some really dark roads. Even if they're really short roads, there's been some dark stuff. I mean, we've come across campsites where people have hung themselves, and so I can see it.
This series needs some darkness stat.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like we had that with like Nick and when Madison was ignoring Alicia for Nick. I feel like we had that at one time, and we lost that.
Chris was dark, and his whole relationship with Travis was dark. And I mean, I really do find myself longing for the good old bad days.
The kids that Chris joined up with were dark. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh, no kidding. All right. So
I like your ugly.
Good. Because now we're going to get into some rotting potpourri, which probably has some more ugly in it.
I was going to say, as if we haven't already been there.
So the first thing that I will say, I had to laugh. I was like, oh, look, Steve's going to be so happy a bunch of people got killed. Oh, never mind. They just introduced a whole bunch of new people.
Well, and so that was almost my bad, in that we still haven't killed anyone. We're just leaving Luciana behind. We didn't kill her. Like, none of our main group have been killed. And with Dwight and Sarah's kind of relationship, their kind of buddy cop thing going on, I kind of felt like they were going to kill Chill.
Oh, see, I felt like they were going to kill Sarah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I kind of think she's too much of a fan favorite, and they keep hiding Daryl Chill Mitchell. I can remember his real name.
Wendell.
Wendell. Yes, they've been hiding him, and he even pointed that out this episode. He's like, I'm done with Tanktown duty.
Which, by the way, speaking of Tanktown, okay, so Matt Frewer, Logan, let the kids go. There were like 4 kids. Okay, there were like 20 kids when
in the
Alicia
convoy.
Found them.
In the convoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be the kids that we pegged on that we knew.
Yes. Yes. It's the smarter and more useful of the Lost Boys.
Aha.
Yeah. The other kids, I mean, because those are the original kids that were tying up all of the entrails and making, blocking the roads and driving the van and everything. So those are the capable kids. The other ones were like, yeah, I'll just stick them with the convoy.
Yeah, no, it was just convenient.
Yeah.
All right, so our title card, I was like, what's that burning? What is on fire? And
okay, so yeah, apparently that's how you refine oil.
Right, and apparently now all of our group is experts in refining oil into gas, which, is it really that hard? I don't know. I don't think I could do it.
Okay, and I was thinking, is it really that easy?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you just gotta pump some crude out of the ground, and then you gotta get a big metal thing and keep it burning, but not too hot.
Right.
And you got gas. 3,000 gallons of gas, 3,000 gallons ahead of where they wanted to be.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, as Eric Kane would say, hello, realism. Realism is dead. Long live realism.
Right? Right? I just, I don't know. Maybe I've always said that I wish the zombie apocalypse knowing full well that I would be like part of the 90% that would die off almost immediately. But I obviously do not have the chops to keep this world running.
Definitely not. I mean, you can't splice mini tapes into VHS tapes to save your life.
I can't put a propeller on a plane.
Your airplane mechanic skills are terrible.
And, as a nurse, you wouldn't be able to perform surgery.
Right.
But a veterinarian could on Walking Dead Prime.
Right.
A veterinarian could on a person.
Right.
Yeah, and now I can't refine oil. Like I am falling down on the rebuilding Earth job.
In fairness, you're probably a better shot than I am.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, I did like the rats propelling the turnstile walkers. I thought that was a good use.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So that is actually, I looked it up. It is a mill, like a windmill or a water mill, but it's usually powered by, livestock, so oxen and horses and cows and things like that.
What were they using it for at the refinery?
A pump.
Ah, okay.
They were pumping the crude out of the ground.
Okay, points for that. That actually was fairly realistic, probably not super hard to think about, and a good use of the walkers.
And definitely a good use of the walkers. But I have to say that for as much as I don't know about refining oil into gasoline, these mills have been independently built by, I don't want to say prehistoric people, but people all over the world, since the beginning of modernity.
People with limited technology.
Yeah, I mean, we use it to refine food. We use it to as pumps. We use it for forges. I mean, it's a fairly basic design that seems like everyone all over the world at some point discovered on their own. It didn't have to the technology didn't have to be given to them. It was just everywhere there was some dude going, if that horse walked in a circle, it could power the thing, and we could do that with it. So I have to say, for as much as we harp on them for their complex knowledge of massive things, the mill was something good old fashioned, powered by
they could have capably done.
Absolutely. And I loved the use of zombies.
Yes.
Yeah, because they never stop. They would just keep going. They never sleep. They never get tired. They would just keep going in circles until their legs wore down, I guess.
Okay, so I have to say another thing about the oil field, and I said this on my comment to Aim for the Head. I was like, really, really takes me out of it that our oil field people are so filthy, but Al apparently is still perfectly coiffed in every episode.
Right?
It really took me out of it. I mean, everyone was filthy, and I was like, no, that's not the way people who live in oil fields live.
Well, you would sweat a lot with all of that heat around, too, right? I feel like you would just sweat off any of the smoke or oil or whatever that got on your face. Yeah, I thought Luciana was definitely too
and the
dirty.
The kids were filthy. Everybody was filthy. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I agree. And so,
and took me out of it.
Having said that, what took me out of it was that the settlers were so clean and put together.
Mm-hmm.
None of their clothes were fraying. They were, I almost want to say, fashionable.
With their cool little hats turned up on the side.
Yes, and her little like wool petticoat that was layered over another top.
She totally had a Teddy Roosevelt look going on.
Yes.
She totally had a Teddy Roosevelt and his Rough Riders.
Good reference.
Mm-hmm.
She's got the red boots that go over her calf,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the other settlers too. They really, really reminded me of the Highwaymen in that, like, I felt like this was very old Westy. Like,
yes.
There was some sort of Western or Western button-up shirt and bolo tie depot that like they found somewhere. But everyone was clean and things were tucked in and just everyone looked fabulous, well bathed, well groomed, everything. And so that kind of took me out of it. I was like, for people that have seemed to be on horseback a whole lot and, I don't see any wagons or, anything that you would normally have if you were traveling long distances, which I would imagine they're traveling long distance because I don't know where you'd hold that many people and horses that our group wouldn't have noticed because we've driven all over hell and high water, literally. So, yeah, it took me out of it that they were so clean.
So our pioneers should have been a little dirtier and our main group should have been a whole heck of a lot cleaner.
Right. And so it's like the writing in that one episode where I'm like, they just wrote two different scripts and cut it up and pulled it out of a hat. Mm-hmm. I feel like you had two different set designers or effects people, makeup people, and they didn't talk to each other at all. There was no coordination.
Continuity. There's no continuity. Eric Fain is right.
He's right. I feel like we discovered him in the one thing we disagreed with him. Yeah, and now we're just like, no, he's totally right on everything except for the nurse thing.
Exactly. All right, I can't go super longer. So, what else do you have in terms of stuff that you want to say in Rotting Potpourri?
Okay, so why did our group give up their guns so easily and Logan's group didn't? Logan, they met in that kind of corridor entryway, and he's like, yeah, you don't want to go shooting any guns off in here. And I'm like, okay, so neither do you guys. I mean, it's obviously mutual destruction on both sides. But like our group, then the next scene is our group on their knees without their weapons,
which totally made me think of the Saviors, by the way.
Oh yeah, good callback. But yeah, I'm just like, I'll put my gun down if you put your gun down, but if you're not going to put your gun down, I'm not going to give you my gun.
Well, and I also thought Lucy doing the whole not one more step and threatening to shoot and then not doing it. I mean, you cannot make idle threats in the zombie apocalypse.
Well, apparently you can because John Dory did it too.
It's ridiculous.
I felt like for as un-bad guy like our bad guy group was, that our group was even weaker. I really didn't like that they gave up their guns so quickly and the other group didn't. Like, how did you let them get the upper hand? All of you had guns.
That's super depressing. I mean, it just kind of goes to the whole argument that they're not really doing anything with our group.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So, my deep dive. I will try and run through this very quickly for you. So, there was a scene where they focused on Logan looking at a map. And on this map, there were what appeared to be kind of old-timey keys. But I think it really was just a circle and a line, and then like 3 lines under perpendicular to that other line. So it looked like 4 keys drawn on this map in black Sharpie. And there's a joke about black Sharpies in there this week somewhere. I won't go there. We don't have time. But so I took a look at this map, and this map, the one key that was kind of prominently in the center that we were looking at appeared to be in between about halfway in between Austin and El Paso, Texas. And so I was like, okay, I'm kind of thinking maybe that's where they are. Maybe these keys are these oil fields that that Polar Bear had set up. And so we focused on this middle one. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of where we are. So where were we? And they had talked about mile marker 65, because the feed bag, the store that the 2 girls, the first girl died in and the other girl didn't, was the feed bag, and it was at mile 65. And I didn't get the highway, but so when I did a deep dive back to season 4, episode 12, I believe, week. And that was the episode where Al was sick and June was trying to get her some Cipro, and the MRAT got stolen by a guy named Quentin. And in the very, very end, they talked him into bringing the MRAT back to where they were, and they had hooked up with Sarah and Wendell and Morgan. And so said that they were at mile marker 27 on the 365 highway. And so that's actually Port Arthur, Texas. And that is way, way southwest Texas. That's like south of Houston. It's coastal. It's a port. So we started out at around Texarkana with Morgan crossing over the border into Texas. And of course, that is, the furthest west Texas you can get, because he was coming from Virginia. So
that's the furthest east in Texas you can get.
I'm sorry, the furthest east. Yes, you're right. So we have literally almost gone from east border to southern border to west border of Texas. And somewhere in the middle of that, between Waco and Dallas, which is kind of in the middle of Texas, is the nuclear power plant that that apparently has melted down. But we have literally gone all over Texas, except for maybe north a little bit. So maybe that's where we're going next. But like we said before, Texas is a really, really big state, and we have just been all over the map. If we are where I think that we are, which is somewhere between Austin and El Paso.
But it doesn't totally feel like we've been all over Texas, even though we apparently have.
No, yeah, it doesn't. And we were looking at that map, so that map means something, and it's probably going to come into play again at some point. So I think we're still going to be on the road for a while. I don't think we're going to find June's oasis anytime soon. But yeah, I don't know what got me on the kick, but I'm like, wow, we started out at like East Texas, and I had to figure out where we met up with the filthy woman, and then nuclear reactor. And I don't know where we had come from, where the plane had come from to land at the nuclear reactor. But now we're super, super east of that. We're getting close to El Paso, according to the map. If that's definitely where we are, because the map, you could see mostly counties, and there was actually a really funny county that had kind of a dirty name. I'm not going to find it, am I?
You're so funny.
It was like Coxswallow or something like that. Oh, but yeah. So I don't know why I got on a kick. Maybe it's just because this season has just been so boring. I was like, where have we been? Where are we going? What are we doing? How far have we come? How far do we have left to go? And they have definitely burned through more gas than I would think you would realistically find left over.
And if we're 7 years behind the main series, we're what, 3, 4 years into the zombie apocalypse at this point?
I'd say that's a good estimation, yeah. Because so if you have to do some math, so Lori was pregnant when Rick woke up, and that was after 2 months, so 60 days in. And now Judith is like 10, 11. And if we're 7 years behind, I would say maybe 3, 4 years into the zombie apocalypse. But definitely not to where you are going all over the map in Texas. You know, I mean, it's a really good thing that we found an oil field and we can refine oil into gas now, because we are burning through it.
So they're giving away a whole tanker.
Yeah. That was the weird one-off deep dive that I did. And it kind of, it reminded me of season 4, episode 1, when Morgan basically drove and walked from Virginia to Texas. And I did the whole, it takes this long to grow an eggplant, and to walk the 1,300 miles that he did, it probably took him between 30 and 40 days. So
before we close up, I just have to ask you, what do you think the big thing, the bigger than you, the it doesn't matter that we're cruel people because there will be people in 100 years to look back on this. What do you think the new group is doing? Or what do you think they think they're doing?
I think that, again, we're sort of recycling storylines from Walking Dead Prime, and actually one that we haven't gotten to yet. I feel like this is the Old West version of the Commonwealth, where we are trying to bring regular society back. We're trying to, stop living out of the cab of oil tankers and tents on the side of the road, and have actual working towns and refining oil and, spreading out all of our technology and things like that. And I kind of feel like that Virginia is the... I feel like she's not exactly the leader of the whole thing, but she's kind of a general in the army. And, not a lot of people look back on some of our historical figures in such a great light anymore, but it is what built this country.
I got the feeling that she was the leader of the whole thing. Is she a Negan? I'm not entirely sure, but...
I don't know. The only reason why that makes me think that she's not the leader of the whole thing is that she seems to be on the road a whole lot for somebody who probably has a very well working town. One, because they're so clean, and two, there was a whole lot of people there that needed food and at least 2 liters of water a day. A lot of horses that needed a lot of feed. And if you are in central Texas, kind of middle and nowhere where we find an oil field, you're not finding a whole lot of hay and grain and regular food supplies. So I think that they are further out from wherever their home base. And so I don't think the leader would actually leave to do this stuff. That's the only reason it makes me think she's not the big leader. But
we will have to see, because I don't agree with you.
She's like a enforcer. You know, she goes out and she recruits by any means necessary. So, yeah.
All right. Well, the drugs are wearing off. The hip is saying, get me out of this chair and back somewhere where you are laying flat.
Yeah, I think that's mostly what I had to say. The only other thing that I had written down is Alicia's still painting trees.
Yes, she is still painting trees.
Yeah, which apparently Wes approves of. And I like.
He likes the Phoenix thing.
Yeah, I like Wes. I hope he continues on the show. So,
yeah, I mean, I think we're going to end up keeping Wes for at least a little bit.
So I won't knock too much for Alicia painting trees. But, so, yeah. Overall, I think a better episode than we have seen in a while. And I have great hope for the future.
I will let you have the hope, and I will continue watching with you.
And continue podcasting with me,
right,
as long as you don't need any more surgery.
Good Lord.
All right. So, until next week, just remember, take it one dead day at a time. Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good week, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.